Hi, Vesa. Welcome to the Leanpub launch video for The Grind, an IT consultant's handbook. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about yourself and about your book, what it's about, and who it's for.
Thanks for the invitation. My name is Vesa Tähkävuori. I am from Kauniainen, Finland, a small country with an outsized IT sector. I'm sure some viewers are familiar with Linus Torvalds, for example, the inventor of Linux operating system and Git version control, and some games such as Angry Birds and Clash of Clans are known throughout the world. As for myself, I've been either studying or working in IT for over 20 years, and the last 10 years of these as an IT consultant. I've been a full stack developer, a cloud specialist, and a technical project manager. So I should know what I'm talking about. And this book is something that I started writing for myself initially, but I always had the idea in the back of my mind that I would one day publish it. And it's for any IT professional who wants to grow as a professional and advance in their career.
And what is the biggest change you've seen in the industry in your 2 decades of experience, would you say?
Well, I've seen the industry become progressively more complex, and I would say that it's considerably more difficult to get in at the junior level these days. So when I first started out, I had the luxury of a more shallow learning curve that many of the juniors will not have these days.
Yeah, it's a lot
And
more
I would,
challenging.
yeah, but I would say that the difficulty of our field peaked around 2022 before ChatGPT came out. And these recent advances in AI have made field somewhat more accessible.
Yeah, how do you recommend people change their working style to adapt to AI?
Well, AI has been just in an enormous change in our field. So it has completely revolutionized the way we work. For example, we don't have to write most of our code ourselves anymore. We can simply describe the AI in detail, how the software should what it should do, and it has made development much faster than it was before. And we can really leverage this speed. We can build a proof of concept very quickly and get feedback early on. However,
Not
I don't think that people should over rely on AI either, because some developers are starting to lose their natural ability, and that can have serious drawbacks later on. So you should also try to solve problems yourself. But of course, AI is just an incredible tool these days.
One thing that's very interesting about your book is that people often don't talk so much in books on this topic about physical preparation and physical conditioning and things like that. And that's exactly how you start your book. And you say, this is in your life, this is the foundation for the brain and for the mind,
Yes.
which is something I very much agree with. If someone was listening to this and you could give them one piece of advice about how they could change their life physically to be more prepared to be a better, IT consultant or kind of tech worker, what would you recommend to them?
Well, I would say that it's a combination of things. So in the book, I call this the Kaizen of physical preparation. So it's all about these small increments adding up into what is a decisive advantage. So there's these obvious things such as sleeping well and good diet, and moderate exercise, not completely excessive, which would cause fatigue, but moderate exercise. And then there's things such as intermittent fasting and like resensitizing yourself to dopamine, which is sometimes called the dopamine detox or dopamine fasting, and optimizing your stress levels and so on. And these things can really add up to a very, very decisive advantage in our field.
Yeah, I really love the way you talk about it in the book, and particularly the focus on incremental change and keeping that in mind from the beginning. I mean,
Yes.
one of my few kind of like, observations to make to people about health is like, imagine you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. You don't need to be tomorrow where you're hoping to be in 10 years. You can be there in 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you just keep the incremental and like experimenting and learning your own body and your own preferences and things like that along the way, incrementalism as an approach to health is just very, very important. And you do
Yeah.
talk about how from your own experience of sort of going too far sometimes in your life, you just sort of naturally wanted to do the kind of high intensity training and things like that, and realizing that
Yeah.
although that can be gratifying in the moment or good in various ways, it can also have drawbacks. And you learned this from personal experience. Well, Vesa, thank you very much for publishing your book, The Grind and IT Consultant's Handbook on Leanpub. And thank you very much for taking the time to do this launch video with me and for all of our audience today.
Thanks for having me and keep grinding.